am very much interested in sharing well-being information. So as part of the mission of Center for the Clarity, Compassion, and Contentment, and helping people find their center, that place inside you that feels secure and grounded amidst a lot of chaos in the world and a lot of noise in our society and our community. So that sense of groundedness we've been really tackling in a very practical way with this series. So this well-being at work is really about overall well-being, and coming to you into your workplace through your work, I think, is a great gift. And I'm very appreciative to be able to do that with all of you. So happy that you're here. This might go a little bit quicker, so if you do have questions, we're going to have time for sharing of examples and questions. And but financial well-being, as we've talked about the other quadrants, so just again, it's the reiteration each time, just in case someone's coming to the well-being series for the first time for this particular module. It's well-being is defined as the experience of health, happiness, and prosperity, including having a good mental health, high satisfaction in life, and a sense of meaning or purpose, and the ability to manage stress. So this paragraph really summarizes what we do need reiterating in society, overall well-being. And it's funny, I sort of took the dash out. I do so much with well-being. I'm like, isn't it just a word of its own these days without well-being? So I just sort of took the liberty to get rid of the dash. But basically, those components, having your health, your happiness, prosperity, we're going to talk about financial well-being today, that good mental health, high satisfaction in life, meaning and purpose, and being able to manage your stress, not having stress. I mean, stress is a normal thing in life. This paragraph is like a roadmap. It's really where you want to go to being well. As we've gone through the series and the Burnout 2.0, because we did addressing burnout and improving well-being, we've talked about emotional, physical, social, workplace, community, and now financial. These are your keys to well-being. And in underpinning all of it is, we've addressed burnout, having a growth mindset, patience, positivity, but also not just positivity alone, not just a positive attitude, which can sometimes be considered, like, if you've ever heard of toxic positivity, that zooming in, oh, everything's okay, without feeling your feelings. Like we've talked about, you feel your feelings, examine what is, understand what is, and let's face it, with financial well-being, there can be a lot of strained emotions, difficult times. It's not uncommon for people to have crises around finance at some point in their life. So, not just brushing everything under the rug, not denying and just being positive all the time, but really understanding how to examine what is and get to your most positive path forward is more the direction. So, well-being something everyone wants, as we say each time, and yet the data shows that it's harder and harder, and it's on decline because people get confused in a noisy, busy world as to where that roadmap is. How we get to well-being can get very muddied when things are stressful, when we're burnt out. If we were in a financial crisis, and say the financial crisis is coming on the heels of other tragedy, loss, divorce, separation, a medical issue that might be costly, any of that could just really wear you down and make the waters very muddied to finding the path forward. Interesting study, and I'm using a lot of the Gallup poll data for this section and for the Well-Being at Work series in general. 72% of Americans are stressed about money. So the APA study found that. And I think it is pervasive in our society, because even if one has ample wealth, it's a very important reiterated comment in advertising, in our world. Like, do we have enough? What is enough for retirement? Is there enough? Is there enough? And if you have this car, right now it's the season of cars ads, right? Oh, sure, who's getting a car for Christmas, right? But it's constantly reiterated. So under your radar, I feel like you're constantly getting messaging that's either you need this to be better, to be enough, or do you have enough to be enough? And deep down, our core question as human beings suffering this human experience is, are we enough? So it really scratches that primal brain of, not having enough for survival. And our brain wants to make sure that we're okay. So these checkpoints that come from data on financial well-being can be a guidepost. It can be your roadmap when you feel like you're just getting bombarded with all these messages, and then under your radar feeling like you aren't secure or feeling like things aren't enough. Remember that it is tapping into your primal brain that you might not have enough for your survival. And I want you to now be conscious of that moving forward. So the first checkpoint is people with high financial well-being, not high financial wealth. Financial well-being is managing your money well, not being rich. So financial well-being is, you're managing your money wisely and you're aware of your financials. So that might even be a checkpoint to say, my spouse does all of our finance. I might want to make sure I know, like I trust them. But do you know where things are? Maybe a to-do or a resolution is just to like have it very clear to you, so that you both are aware of the elements. So it's not like a mystery. That just could be a logical checkpoint. Financial well-being, people with high financial well-being also have experiences and not just material possessions. So there's that balance in life. They're having experiences, and I think we're seeing a lot more people foregoing some material possessions to have experiences, whether it's travel or just doing fun things with family. We're coming up on the season of getting together with each other. People with high financial well-being give to others and not just for themselves. So just a data point. So it improves that. It does reiterate this season. It does reinforce why we have a season of giving, because that feels good as well to give to others. Although I will say that in my family, we're really heavy on the adults, and we're like, you know what? We don't really need anything. Let's just get together and just focus on the few kids and giving them gifts or donating to charity. That would be a better thing. Like, I don't need more stuff. So you can, decide what that giving to others means, right? It might even be to others you don't know. Who knows? They're also satisfied with their standard of living. So it's a conscious, this is, standard of living. So people with financial well-being check, I'm okay with this. Now, this also it can be a frugal standard of living. It can be a downsized. It can be minimalist. So there's a lot coming out about having less and having that be more, and having a richer life experience. And I think we've seen a trend towards bigger and bigger houses. And now minimalism is coming along for those who really want to have experiences, and maybe younger, maybe deciding not on the bigger house, but maybe other ways of spending their money. It's just a thought, that could be. And even if someone was having financial troubles, maybe reading more about minimalism would support the goals and make that person feel more grounded and centered in where they want to go. We don't need to compare ourselves with others. We can set our own standard of living. People with good financial well-being also engage in strategies that result in that security. So everyday stress and worry isn't caused by debt. So if there are financial worries, or if there are reasons that you're checking daily the balances on accounts, it's not that that's abnormal for certain times of life, but it is something that causes extra daily stress. So if you're looking for financial well-being, you want to have enough of a cushion, enough of a security, so that that's not a daily worry of yours. And then if the worry is really unfounded, again, raising that to your level of consciousness, like maybe I grew up without financial security, so now I'm an adult who has it, but it causes me worry all the time. That scarcity mindset that there isn't enough. And also the financial freedom to spend time with people you like to be around. So if there's travel to people that you like to be around, you want to have financial freedom to do that. And connections are very important for well-being. So this is a way that even finance helps you connect with others. Very simply, the worksheet that's with this and how you can really assess where you're at in a coaching way is, what are your goals? And we can have goals at different times of life, and different stages of life. So just literally getting out of your head on it and into the page is, what are my financial goals? I would encourage you to write a few notes about that. What additional resources or tools or skills to reach those goals? Being clear. You can always change them and adapt, but getting intentional about how you want to live is an important part of feeling a sense of well-being. So this relates to the other categories too. If we're really unclear, and a lot of this has been about getting clear, if we're unclear about things, we can be feeling stress under our radar around them, where we don't necessarily need to feel stress. If we haven't set an intention, set our GPS, if you will, the direction that we want to go to, and how might you have a new approach? What might be new in 2024 to help you improve this area of your life? Now, also, when we think about it, a few more questions, while you're at it. How can you influence long-term financial goals? This may sound very, very, very elementary, but I do want to say that a lot of things in coaching might be very elementary, because our brains like complexity. And sometimes we get lost in that complexity. We get lost in the mystery of things. So the financial markets right now might feel very confusing to me, but really what I want to do is simplify it, and then talk to a resource and get clarity that way, not feel like, oh, later. We procrastinate sometimes what we feel is too overwhelming and too complex. Also, how do I convey a sense of fairness and equity when discussing compensation with employees? This is for any managers out there. So this is like financial well-being for yourself, but maybe you're also in a position where you're having conversations with staff around what 2024 is going to look like for them financially with their salary. So just in the data, that also came up as a piece of financial well-being. How are we discussing this with staff if we're in management, and how can you improve not only your own financial well-being and thoughts around that, but maybe even a team. If you're in a leadership position, it might be some ways that you either bring in a resource now and again, or once a year, that might help people with their financial well-being. Just bringing it into the workplace as a resource. It might also be encouraging people to get together and do some things that might help save money if people are interested in this. And the studies show that that's also very effective and can be very positive in the workplace as well. Some of these best practices are, brainstorming cost-effective and saving money savings techniques. Maybe it is like eating in rather than eating out, whether that's on an individual level or even as a team at work, in the workplace, if you're actually in the workplace, making a lunch. I think remote work had actually probably prompted people to move in that direction. And I think sometimes when we work really hard, we might buy things or buy lunch out because we feel like it's a convenience and we work very hard for that. But if we were actively trying to save money, that might be an item that we could do. And it came up in the data quite often. Focusing on those experiences joined together instead of material purchases. And then also the auto payment and savings came up in the research because, again, not that day-to-day looking at finances, especially if you have a lot of emotions around your financial well-being, then that constantly keeps reiterating or touching off maybe a fear or an emotion. So having things on auto pay can be an ease of your time, but also an ease of your mind. And if you set things up automatically, it can be less of a stressor. So these were just some best practices that came out in the research. In the PowerPoint is this sheet that kind of collects these questions for you to write, but then there's also a worksheet that will be sent to all of you after this webinar. So just to kind of bring it home, and we obviously have a lot of time. I mentioned that this was a quick one. It's just really some guideposts for financial well-being. So we will have time for some comment and then even for us to end a little early potentially. But finance is a huge stress in people's lives. So if you can feel your center, feel that sense of groundedness when it comes to your finance, it will be tremendous impact on your well-being. The little things can make a big difference. So not to think that things are too little. We need to start somewhere, and especially if things feel overwhelming in any facet of life. But while we're talking about finance, if the finance situation feels overwhelming for you or a loved one, really going down to some basics is the way to do it, to calm our nervous system, to calm our fears and get clear and make a plan. We don't want to be sticking our heads in the sand. We can connect, if necessary, with the fact that more isn't better. More isn't better. Studies show that more does not make people happier. We actually know this, but sometimes we don't know this when we see a lot of unhappy rich people, that it's not the first and foremost, it's not a route to happiness. It is so, we fall under our radar to the trap of a consumer society where we're constantly being bombarded with very savvy marketing, especially this time of year. So minimalism is a great thing to learn more about if we want to pull back. And there's a great documentary on minimalism on Netflix too. And these two guys started a business around minimalism, and they share their own personal stories. And it's really a great documentary. So support yourself and each other with any resources that you can if you're a manager, and can bring more financial, maybe once a year, bringing that resource in, it does go a long way. So your well-being matters. And I love this anonymous quote: do something today that your future self would thank you for. And doesn't that fit well for financial well-being? And I do want to share once again, well-being is possibly the best gift you give yourself, but it's not just for yourself, it's for others. It has an impact on others and collectively in the world. So every time you take care of yourself, don't feel like it's selfish. You are taking care of yourself and others and the world when you do ensure your well-being. And there's my contact information. Feel free to reach out. feel free to share my information with any of your organizations. I do coaching as employee assistants. I do webinars in companies, and I would love to talk to yours. Hudson Headwaters Health Network is one of my clients, very beloved and members here. And I just love working with you all. And with that, want to kind of open it up if anyone wants to share any best practices, any questions, any comments as we approach maybe the most potentially financially fun or stressful times of the year.
I am just going to put that survey in the chat while we're here thinking of any questions, and that will get emailed out along with the worksheets as well.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Any thoughts? It's certainly okay for you not to share them, but it's something also someone could just email me after the fact as well if anyone is interested. And I think it's shareable too, as we're going to have this link of the recording. I think someone could share the presentation with a loved one, or an adult child, or someone that you feel would benefit from this information as well.
Yep, this will be up on the Center for Health Workforce, or the Health Workforce Collaborative. So feel free to revisit and share if you'd like.
So Kim, we're so appreciative of the time that you have taken over the last 3 years helping the grant and the care managers in the region. So I appreciate your conversation today. It's interesting to me that the finance